again!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. On the show today, IPL, the Indian Premier League is in the news. Social media is buzzing with it. What have the teams done? Whom have they retained? Some shockers, some predictable picks, and lots more to discuss as we look at the review of the retention and what the intent of the franchises were. Meanwhile, Manchester United registered a clinical win in the very first game that Ruud Van Nistelrooy led in charge. What did that game tell us, and will he be a permanent fixture as manager? And we rounded up with news from Spain. The floods have proved to bring disaster, also affected the sporting structure. What is the situation like with the many sporting disciplines coming to a grinding halt? But first, a look at the headlines in Sports 360. Starting with cricket, South Africa crushed Bangladesh by an innings and 273 runs in the final test of the series. Tony Dezorzi, Tristan Stubbs and Wiaan Mulder's centuries helped South Africa post 576. While bowling, Kagiso Rabada ran riot, picking up 5 wickets as Bangladesh were bundled out for 159. Following on, Bangladesh were bowled out for 143 with Keshav Maharaj taking a fifer. With the win, South Africa whitewashed Bangladesh in the 2-match series. Over in football, Tottenham Hotspurs beat Manchester City 2-1 in the English League Cup match. Timo Werner's early goal put Spurs ahead in the game, and Pape Matar Sarr's 25th minute goal doubled the lead. City failed to get past Tottenham despite Matheus Nunes' late goal in the first half. Over in tennis, world number 2 Carlos Alcaraz crashed out of the Paris Masters after a shock defeat to 18th ranked Hugo Humbert. Humbert defeated the Spaniard 6-1, 3-6, 7-5. This is the first time Alcaraz has lost to this opponent in 3 meetings. In basketball, Phoenix Suns registered a narrow win over LA Clippers despite a 21-point lead till the third quarter. Clippers were stunned by Devin Booker, who scored 40 points. With a 125-119 victory, Suns have now secured their 4th win in 5 matches this season. And summing it up with baseball, LA Dodgers has won the World Series title after defeating New York Yankees 4-1 in the series. Freddie Freeman was the star of the series as he earned MVP for his home run heroics in the 5 matches. This is Dodgers' 2nd World Series title in 5 years. The IPL, Indian Premier League, is a buzzword today. The auctions are around the corner and all the 10 teams have announced the players that they retained. They will look to add the rest at the auction table, of course. Exciting weeks then coming up for everyone, but the retention news itself has given us many things to talk about and reflect upon, with an indication of what the teams will look like come IPL next year. What is their intention heading into the auction? We'll get to see it all unfold, but the retention is the starting point, so let me dive right in. We'll start with the team that always hogs the headlines, Chennai Super Kings. The Chennai franchise announced their retained players with some pomp and show. And yes, even when it was not supposed to be about him, it did end up being just that. MS Dhoni has been retained as the 5th player for a paltry $490,000. The franchise clearly making use of that uncapped player rule that has been brought back after 2021 when it was first scrapped, which is that Indian players who have not featured in international cricket for 5 years prior to the season can be picked as an uncapped player. Of course, this garnered its fair share of reactions. The other players to be retained, pretty self-explanatory, very predictable. Ruturaj will be the captain. Ravindra Jadeja, pretty much another player looking to finish his career in CSK itself. Matisha Patirana, the Sri Lankan who has been groomed in that void that DJ Bravo left. And of course, Shivam Dube. They have an option to right to match, an RTM option. As per the rules, 6 players can be retained by the franchise. And if they retain less, then the remaining spot or spots left remaining can be used as an RTM. They will look to probably use that for Rachin Ravindran come the auction, the prolific New Zealand batter with Indian roots. And moving on swiftly, of course, to the other team that's also buzzing, Mumbai Indians. The franchise released a photo that went viral, of course. This one with Hardik Pandya in the centre, flanked by some very big names in Indian cricket. Rohit Sharma, Jasprit Bumrah, Suryakumar Yadav, and of course, promising youngster who captained the India A side, Tilak Verma. All Indian retention, indicating that they will persist with Hardik at the helm for another year. Here's the interesting point to note, though, the monies. Jasprit Bumrah is the one who's been paid the most here. He's retention number 1. Not much of a difference in the monies between the other leaders in the core, Hardik, Rohit and Surya. Let's not forget, he is the captain of the Indian shorter formats teams. Now, it says something. Even though Pandya will continue to captain the side, the negotiations have ensured that the leadership core is assured of their importance and their relevance in that lineup. As simple as that. Keeping everyone happy. That seems to have worked, at least for this franchise. They have one RTM option left and uncapped. They can use that to get back someone like Akash Madwal, who's impressed with the ball, or someone like Nehal Vadera. Ishan Kishan's rope seems to have run out, like it has in the national setup. Next up, Bengaluru. Very frugal with their retentions. Just 3 players managed to have been retained. Virat Kohli for a whopping $2.56 million. Rajat Patidar and Yash Dayal wrap that up. They truly believe in these 2 talents to get them to be retained. The big news is Virat Kohli is set to come back as captain of the franchise. We're, of course, waiting for official confirmation on that. But that's what people would lead to believe. That's going to be a big, major turnaround for this franchise, which perfectly leads me to Sunrisers Hyderabad. 2 reasons. They, of course, pipped Bengaluru in terms of the money spent on their first retainee, and they have retained their captain, who took them to the final last year. They have retained 5 players, no surprises there. The number 1 retention, Henry Klaasen. He's broken the bank, $2.8 million, the highest amongst the list of other retainees for the batter who almost got South Africa to get that across the line at the T20 World Cup against India. The other 4, very, very predictable. Pat Cummins, the captain, Nitish Kumar Reddy, Abhishek Sharma and his opening partner, Travis Head. Hyderabad getting their homework part wrapped up neatly. We'll, of course, move to the 2 teams who have decided not to retain their captains. First off, Kolkata Knight Riders. Let's look at the players that they've retained. Rinku Singh gets top honours here, predictably so, player for the future, and one of their match winners, really. So too Sunil Narayan and Varun Chakravarti. They were key in KKR's title-winning performance in the last season. The other 2 players also very predictable. They have used up all their retention spots. The big kicker here, they've left their captain Shreyas Iyer out. Bold decision that, and yes, Shreyas has had a bit of a torrid last few months, resulting in BCCI scrapping his central contract. No RTMs available, so a new captain and a new coach will lead Kolkata next year. The most interesting auction table could be theirs. Which other captain, of course, go into the auction pool? That of Delhi Capitals and Lucknow Super Giants. Let's look at Delhi first. Rishabh Pant has been released. Yes, that's the big news there with this particular franchise. A big player to get back into the auction pool, especially with the role that he plays, a keeper bat and a potential leadership material for many franchises waiting for a captain to take charge. There is much to look at here. Delhi has gone on to retain Akshar Patel, a big deal this for this all-rounder, Kuldeep Yadav, Tristan Stubbs, of course, a very promising youngster that, and Abhishek Porel. They are the retentions, which leaves them 2 slots for RTM options. Do they do that to get back Pant, or is there a different mindset or approach that they will attempt to shape here? Then, of course, let's move on to the next franchise, Lucknow, whose tense relationships with KL Rahul seems to have spilled over neatly here. He has not been retained. Let's see who they've decided to persist with for the 2025 edition. Nicholas Puran goes for the topmost billing. Not been too consistent, but somehow is the biggest star power in that squad. They have 4 other retentions in Ravi Bishnoi, Mayank Yadav. Of course, they wouldn't want to let go of this particular find. Ayush Badoni and Mohsin Khan, some young Indian talents there to round off that list. This also leaves them with an right to match option, which will come in handy depending on who they wish to bring back into that fold. But what has got everyone talking post these retentions is what the owner Sanjeev Goenka ended up saying right after.
It was a simple mindset to go in with players who have a mindset to win, who put the team before their personal goals and personal aspirations, and we wanted to retain as much as of the core we could.
The bitter fallout that the two had during last season was there for everyone to see right after that game against Hyderabad, which they lost terribly. The makeup too was well published, making all this a very dramatic affair for KL Rahul possibly to handle. Last three teams for us to reflect on and review. Let's get into it with Rajasthan Royals, the team that has been so near and yet so far in the hunt of their second title. The retention clearly shows that Rajasthan knows what they like. They will make no bones about it, and they have gone ahead to keep those players close to them. They have retained their captain, of course, Sanju Samson, their best batter, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Riyan Parag, the persistence with whom paid off for them last season. Dhruv Jurel, again, a very promising young potential. Shimron Hetmeyer, of course, who's come good, and Sandeep Sharma. Reliables and players who have given them some memorable, important wins in the last few seasons. What a good, clean, transparent retention this looks like, which leaves them with no right to match options or cards left. They may have had to fight off the Joss Butler miss and may want to go back again for him, probably. The other miss, Yuzvendra Chahal. One team where there are so many you want to retain but run the danger of losing. Of course, on to Gujarat Titans next, a team that started off their journey on a high with a win in the inaugural season and a finish in the final in the next, but then of course relinquished their captain to a trade-off. Here's what they look like after a very average last season. They've retained their skipper, of course, Shubman Gill. They clearly want to build a team around him. They have retained the talismanic Rashid Khan, no doubts there, and then the talented youngster on the rise, Sai Sudarshan, very smart pick. They've also retained the big-hitting all-rounder Shah Rukh Khan, again from Tamil Nadu, and Rahul Tewatia, again another slugger at the end, leaving them with one right to match card, maybe for Mohammad Shami. His fitness still will be a very key talking point to discuss in that team. And of course, David Miller, who was instrumental in their journey, initially at least, but had a very quiet last season. The last team rounding this off, the team that has the most purse, the heaviest purse heading into the auction, Punjab Kings. They will be the troublemakers at the table. No second guessing here. They have plenty of money to splurge and play around, and especially with this retention list. They have retained just two players, Shashank Singh, the right Shashank Singh. He was one of the highlights of their very mercurial campaign last year. Flashes of brilliance, but key moments lost. The second retention is that of Prabhsimran Singh, which means there will be yet another massive overhaul of what this team could go on to look like. They need a brand new squad with a brand new captain too at the helm. That is what the teams at the moment kind of look to resemble. The mega auction will see some more battles in a month, some weeks from now, as there will be a few teams wanting to completely do a U-turn on what they have gone with so far. And then, of course, the teams with the tried and tested formulas who will have to fight it out to keep things smooth in their ranks, all leading up to a very exciting auction. Manchester United's new era post Erik Ten Hag has begun, and the fortunes have already swung the other way for the Red Devils. Within a few days of Ten Hag's departure, Leicester City faced the rude hammering at Old Trafford as the interim coach Ruud Van Nistelrooy took just one game to show United fans what a dominant win looks like. Manchester United thrashed Leicester City 5-2 in the League Cup match to start what fans hope will be their club's revival. It wasn't just the scoreline that showed United's strong comeback, but also the team atmosphere, making us see what a change in just one manager could really go on to do. Let's first start with the coach himself. It wasn't just an assistant manager stepping into the new role of a football club in what has been the most trickiest phase for Manchester United. Nistelrooy, the former player who has loved and admired the red jersey for ages, really took charge, which is why there was a massive change in the way Ruud Van Nistelrooy approached the game, comparing that to what Ten Hag did all this while. Just like the way Nistelrooy pumped up the Old Trafford crowd in his playing days, he did much the same as a manager last night. He walked out as a player who wanted to change the fortunes of his club, and that came through in the way United played. Nistelrooy was more attacking, a far cry from the defensive tactics that we saw with Ten Hag at the helm. Despite scoring 2 goals, United didn't stop. They kept attacking, and even when they sealed the match by a 4-2 lead, they went ahead for that 5th goal, something that had been absent under Ten Hag. And it wasn't just the attacking approach that really stood apart or helped United on the night. Ruud used the right players in the right positions, which made all of the difference. Casemiro and Bruno both played in attacking roles, which they couldn't under Ten Hag. And the biggest highlight of the night was the inclusion of the 23-year-old Uruguayan national Manuel Ugarte, a player who only featured 3 times under Ten Hag since he joined United, which was earlier this year. He made a key difference. In fact, he was the differentiator between both the sides on the night. The game was enough to prove what had been missing under Ten Hag. Because with Van Nistelrooy leading the way, he brought back some of the principles that United has always thrived on.
If Ten Hag listens to Ruud, maybe he can. I think it can help a lot because he knows the club, and the club should listen to guys who are there. You cannot rebuild a club without knowledge.
A former Red Devil himself, Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, had a bitter fallout with Erik Ten Hag, but he knew how the club truly functions, what would work for them. He came from a time when players were passionate and would make sacrifices with the club, for the club. Very similar to what Ruud Van Nistelrooy is doing even as a coaching staff here, staying away from his family in the Netherlands to put his energies into resurrecting Manchester United.
It's more than a job. Otherwise, you wouldn't opt to live alone in a flat. As a family, you have to have a discussion. Are we willing to pay the price as a family when daddy leaves by himself? That is the price, and one you wouldn't pay for any club, but you would for this one. That was our mutual decision.
And while one may think that after making all of these sacrifices, Ruud Van Nistelrooy would want to make this job a permanent one, he's rather content in helping the club in any capacity that he's asked to.
It's going to be a short job as an interim. That was communicated very clear, and I was happy with that. As an assistant, I came here to help the club forward, and I'm still very motivated to do so in any capacity. And as an assistant, and now as an interim manager, and after that I go back to my assistant contract that I have here for this season and next. And I'm very motivated to stay here and help the club forward. That's my absolute goal.
So Nistelrooy has made one thing clear: there will be a new person taking charge in that managerial role. And despite his brilliant start, United want a more experienced campaigner who can bring back the glory days. The biggest name, of course, doing the round is that of current sporting manager Rubin Amorim. That Amorim will take United's charge after the international break, which is from the 11th of November to the 20th. So United aren't wasting any time and are hoping to make that quick transition because they wouldn't want to give up on the momentum that they are beginning to see. Ruud Van Nistelrooy, though, has already proved his command over tactical brilliance. He's bringing that sense of stability Manchester United truly needs. One time that a rude shock is of the good kind, just what Manchester United really want now. Spain is mourning after devastating floods hit eastern parts of the country, a calamity that has taken the lives of more than 150 people. The disaster makes it the worst episodes of flooding in Spain's modern history. Even as the country has come to a grinding halt, sports too has taken a bit of a hit. The Spanish league has decided to drop all weekend matches in the Valencia region to a later date. This includes the mega clash between Real Madrid and Valencia. Football isn't the only sport that's been affected. Moto GP riders want the season-ending race, which was supposed to be held in Valencia later this month, to be shifted out. They say that would not be an ethical call. Here's a report.
Floods continue to wreak havoc in eastern Spain. A mass destruction that has brought life in flood-hit regions to a standstill. The roads are in a shambles, the facilities torn, emergency services affected, and a death toll that only continues to rise. But it isn't just the eastern region of the country that is experiencing the aftermath of it. Spain is mourning the devastating effects of the floods, and that also includes the sporting structure. Because of the floods, the Spanish league has decided to delay all of their weekend matches in the Valencia region. This included the marquee clash between Valencia and Real Madrid. Villareal's showdown against Rayo Vallecano also stands cancelled. And it isn't just the top tier where the schedule has been halted. Second division games are also expected to be rescheduled until the situation improves. This has led to nationwide mourning, and star players too have expressed their condolences. Football isn't just the only sport that has been affected by this calamity. Some basketball games also had to be rescheduled as travel was affected throughout Spain. Spanish tennis great Rafael Nadal's academy, based in Mallorca, was one of the many complexes affected by the unprecedented weather. Both the indoor and outdoor courts were flooded. The gym facilities were damaged. While nobody was harmed, the practice sessions have come to a standstill, as the academy still hopes to bring things back to normal. The floods have also raised concerns over the season-ending Moto GP race in Valencia. The finale, which will help in deciding the champion, is scheduled to take place in 2 weeks. Reports suggest that the circuit has been damaged, but the major concern is the route leading to the circuit. The streets were filled with tumbled vehicles, debris and household items swirling in the waters. The police and rescue services had to use helicopters to take people to safety, which is why many riders feel that organizing the race in Valencia would not be the right call.
Ethically speaking, I don't think the Moto GP race should be held. Now the organizers have to meet and decide, but I would have already decided. We know that the area around the circuit has been badly damaged, but it doesn't make sense to spend money on repairing that. Resources should go to helping people.
The race is around 2 weeks away, and the organizers are yet to take a decision on the finale. But if the MotoGP finale does go as planned, it would require major work to the circuit. Given how much Spain is battling, would that be the right approach? That is what many are asking. As Marquez pointed out, the resources should be used to help people instead. While it is important to continue tradition and get Spain to host the final race, will the organizers and MotoGP be able to see eye to eye and do what is right? Even as many people hope that the situation in Spain returns to normal soon.
Time for last serve. We bring you visuals from Saudi Arabia's Jump Like a Pharaoh festival. The skydivers glided over Egypt's ancient pyramids, making for some stunning pictures. Take a look. That wraps up Firstpost here today. Of course, for everyone else in India celebrating the Festival of Lights, wishing you a very happy Diwali. Take care. I'll see you again after this weekend. Bye-bye.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election, explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about how America votes and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained. Every Monday and Thursday only on Firstpost.